When someone disrespects you, the first thing you need to understand is this. You do not have to beg for what should be given freely. You don't have to chase respect. You don't have to argue for your worth. You don't have to stand in front of somebody and explain why you deserve basic decency. Because the moment you start begging someone to respect you, you have already forgotten who you are. Let them misunderstand you. Let them underestimate you. Let them walk away. But don't walk away from yourself just because somebody refused to recognize your value. Your dignity is not a negotiation. And sometimes the most powerful response to disrespect is not a speech. It's silence, it's distance, it's discipline. It's looking at that person and saying nothing, because you've finally learned that your peace is worth more than winning an argument. Life will teach you something that success never can. Not everybody will treat you the way you treat them. You can be loyal and still be betrayed. You can be kind and still be taken for granted. You can give your best and still be criticized. That's life. But your response determines who you become. Pain can make you bitter, or pain can make you wiser. Disrespect can destroy your confidence. Or it can teach you to stop looking for validation in places where you were never valued. You have to understand your purpose. You are not here to convince everybody to like you. You are not here to make everybody understand you. You are not here to chase people who constantly remind you that they don't appreciate you. You are here to grow, to build, to become stronger, to become disciplined enough that your emotions no longer control your decisions. Because sometimes God removes people from your life, not because you are losing something, but because you are being protected from something. So stop begging, stop explaining, stop chasing. Stand up, straighten your back, lift your head, and remember who you were before their opinion became important to you. There is a difference between communicating your boundaries and begging somebody to honor them. Now the difference. Because one comes from strength, the other comes from fear. When you communicate a boundary, you are saying, this is what I will accept. This is what I will not accept. And if you cross that line, I will make a decision about what happens next. But when you beg for respect, you are saying, please value me. Please treat me better. Please stop hurting me. Please see that I am a human being with feelings. And you need to understand something. You should never have to beg someone to recognize your humanity. You should never have to plead for basic decency. You should never have to convince another person that your feelings matter. If you have to repeatedly tell someone to respect you, if you have to constantly remind someone that their words hurt you, if you have to keep explaining why their behavior is unacceptable, if you have to keep proving that you deserve honesty, if you have to keep asking for the same basic consideration, eventually you have to stop talking. Not because you don't have anything to say, because you've already said enough, you've explained it, you've communicated it, you've made yourself clear. And now their response is no longer information you need. Their response is information you already have. Listen to what people show you. People can tell you anything, but behavior tells the truth. Somebody can say, I respect you. But if they constantly embarrass you, dismiss you, insult you, manipulate you, or make you feel worthless, then their words don't match their actions. And when words and actions disagree, believe the actions, because respect is not something people merely say. Respect is something people demonstrate. It shows up in how they speak to you, how they treat you when they're angry, how they treat you when nobody is watching, how they handle your boundaries, how they respond when you say no, how they behave when they don't get what they want. That's where character is revealed. And you need to stop making excuses for behavior that keeps hurting you. Stop saying maybe they didn't mean it. Stop saying maybe they'll change. Stop saying maybe if I explain it one more time, they'll finally understand. How many times are you going to explain something that should have been obvious the first time? How many times are you going to reopen the same wound, hoping the person who caused it will finally understand the pain? You cannot force maturity. You cannot force compassion. You cannot force character. And you definitely cannot force somebody to see your worth. You can stand in front of them with the purest heart. You can give them your loyalty. You can give them your patience. You can give them your forgiveness. You can give them opportunity after opportunity. But if they have decided to treat you without respect, nothing you say will magically transform their character. And that's a hard lesson. Because sometimes the person you want to understand you the most is the person who refuses to understand you. Sometimes the person you want an apology from is the person who will never give you one. Sometimes the person you want to change is completely comfortable with who they are. And that's when you have a choice. You can keep chasing, or you can let go. You can keep arguing, or you can become silent. You can keep explaining, or you can move. And I'm telling you, there is power in moving. There is power in saying, I have done enough. There is power in saying, I will not continue participating in something that destroys my peace. There is power in walking away without hatred, without revenge, without bitterness, just wisdom. Your job is not to control their behavior. Your job is to control your response. That's where your power lives. You cannot control what somebody says about you. You cannot control whether they appreciate you. You cannot control whether they misunderstand your intentions. You cannot control whether they choose to respect you. But you can control whether you allow their behavior to destroy your confidence. You can control whether you respond with anger. You can control whether you continue giving them access to your life. You can control whether you wake up tomorrow and decide to keep moving forward. That's discipline. And discipline is not always about waking up early or working harder. Sometimes discipline means not responding. Sometimes discipline means putting the phone down. Sometimes discipline means refusing to send that message. Sometimes discipline means walking away from the argument. Sometimes discipline means saying, I'm not going to become someone I don't recognize just because you treated me badly. Because here's what happens when you let disrespect control you. You become obsessed with proving yourself. You start replaying conversations in your head. What should I have said? Why did they say that? Why don't they understand me? What can I do to make them respect me? And suddenly your entire life becomes centered around someone else's behavior. No, take your power back. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to get the last word. You don't need to make everybody understand your side. You don't need to make people admit they were wrong. Sometimes the greatest victory is leaving the conversation with your character intact. Dignity sometimes looks like leaving without getting the last word. Let that sink in. You don't need the last word. You need your peace. You don't need their apology. You need your healing. You don't need their approval. You need your purpose. You don't need them to admit your worth. You need to remember it yourself. And that changes everything. Because when you know your worth, you stop negotiating with people who constantly try to lower your value. You stop accepting crumbs and calling it love. You stop accepting disrespect and calling it loyalty. You stop accepting manipulation and calling it friendship. You stop accepting emotional exhaustion and calling it commitment. You begin to understand that boundaries are not walls designed to keep everybody out. Boundaries are doors. And you decide who gets access. Not everybody deserves access to your mind. Not everybody deserves access to your heart. Not everybody deserves access to your time. Not everybody deserves access to your future. And that doesn't make you cruel. It makes you responsible. You have a responsibility to protect what God has placed inside you. Your peace, your purpose, your potential, your future, your faith. You cannot spend every day fighting people while expecting to have enough energy left to build your destiny. At some point, you have to choose. Are you going to spend your energy proving yourself? Or are you going to spend your energy becoming yourself? Because the world doesn't need another person desperately seeking validation. It needs people who know who they are. People who can stand alone. People who can hear criticism without collapsing. People who can receive disrespect without becoming disrespectful. People who can walk away without revenge. People who can forgive without reopening the door. That's strength. And don't misunderstand strength. Strength doesn't mean you never get hurt. You will get hurt. You will cry. You will feel disappointed. You will have nights when you question everything. But strength means the pain doesn't get to decide your future. You feel it. You learn from it. You pray through it. And then you keep moving because there is still work to do. There are still dreams to build. There are still goals to accomplish. There are still people you are meant to help. There is still a version of you waiting on the other side of this struggle. Don't let somebody's disrespect convince you that you're worthless. Their inability to value you is not evidence that you have no value. Ride that again in your heart. Their inability to recognize your worth does not reduce your worth. A diamond doesn't become worthless because somebody doesn't know how to recognize it. Your value doesn't disappear because somebody treated you poorly. Your purpose doesn't disappear because somebody rejected you. Your future doesn't disappear because somebody walked away. You are still here, still breathing, still learning, still growing, still becoming. So stop begging, stop chasing, stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Speak when you need to speak, set the boundary, stand firm. And when the boundary is crossed repeatedly, have the courage to act on it. Create distance, protect your peace, keep your dignity, and keep moving. Because sometimes God will allow you to experience disrespect so you can finally understand the importance of self-respect. Sometimes you have to lose someone's approval to find your own voice. Sometimes you have to walk away from someone else to finally walk toward yourself. And when you reach that place, when you stop needing everybody to understand you, when you stop needing everybody to approve of you, when you stop needing everybody to respect you before you respect yourself, something changes inside you. You become free, you become calm, you become focused, you become dangerous to the distractions that once controlled you. And you realize something powerful. You were never supposed to beg for respect. You were supposed to carry yourself with enough dignity that when respect disappears, you know when to remove yourself, not with hatred, not with revenge, not with bitterness, with wisdom, with discipline, with faith, with purpose, and with the quiet confidence of someone who finally understands, I know who I am and I don't need you to agree with me for that to be true. Anybody can react, anybody can scream, anybody can send the angry message, anybody can say something they regret 5 minutes later. Anybody can slam a door, anybody can insult somebody, anybody can lose control. But discipline is different. Discipline is when somebody pushes your buttons and you refuse to let them control your behavior. Discipline is when somebody says something designed to hurt you, and you don't give them the satisfaction of watching you break. They expect you to explode. You remain calm. They expect you to chase them. You keep walking. They expect you to argue. You choose silence. They expect you to prove yourself. You keep working. That is strength. Real is not always loud. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need to raise their voice. Sometimes strength is knowing you could respond, but choosing not to. Sometimes strength is having the perfect comeback and deciding that your peace is more valuable than the last word, because anybody can lose control. But it takes discipline to control yourself when you have every reason to be angry. And believe me, life will give you reasons. People will disappoint you. People will lie to you. People will betray you. People will misunderstand you. People will question your intentions. People will talk about you behind your back. And sometimes the people you trusted the most will be the people who hurt you the deepest. That's when your character is tested, not when everything is going well, not when everybody loves you, not when people are praising you. Your character is tested when somebody disrespects you, and you have to decide who you're going to become because of it. Are you going to become bitter? Are you going to become angry? Are you going to become revengeful? Or are you going to become wiser? That's the question, because anger is powerful. But uncontrolled anger is expensive. It can cost you relationships. It can cost you opportunities. It can cost you your reputation. It can cost you years of progress. One emotional decision can create a problem that takes years to fix. One message sent in anger can destroy something you spent years building. One moment of uncontrolled emotion can give somebody else control over your future. Don't give them that power. Pause, breathe, think, pray, then respond. And sometimes, after you pray and think, you realize you don't need to respond at all. That's maturity. That's discipline. You have to learn that every battle doesn't deserve your energy. Every insult doesn't deserve a response. Every accusation doesn't deserve an explanation. Every opinion doesn't deserve your attention. Some people will provoke you simply because they want access to your emotions. They want to see if they can control you. They say something. You react. They say something else. You react again. And now they're controlling your entire day without even being in the room. No, take your power back. Your emotions belong to you. Your peace belongs to you. Your attention belongs to you. Don't hand them over to somebody who doesn't deserve them. Real strength is sometimes sitting alone with your pain and choosing not to become the person who hurt you. Think about that. Somebody treated you badly. You have every reason to become cold, but you choose compassion. Somebody betrayed you. You have every reason to stop trusting everybody, but you choose wisdom instead of bitterness. Somebody disrespected you. You have every reason to disrespect them back, but you choose dignity. That's strength. Because the easiest thing to do is become what hurt you. The harder thing is to rise above it. The easier thing is revenge. The harder thing is healing. The easier thing is anger. The harder thing is self-control. The easier thing is blaming everybody. The harder thing is taking responsibility for what you do next. And your future depends on what you do next. Not what they did, not what they said, not how unfair they were. What are you going to do next? That's where your power lives. Sometimes strength is crying at night and still getting up in the morning. Sometimes strength is waking up with a broken heart and still going to work. Sometimes strength is being disappointed and still keeping your promises to yourself. Sometimes strength is being exhausted and still taking one more step. You don't have to feel strong every day. You just have to keep choosing strength. There will be mornings when you don't want to get out of bed. There will be nights when your mind won't stop thinking about what happened. There will be moments when you want to call them. You will want to explain everything. You will want to tell them exactly how much they hurt you. You will want them to understand. Don't. Take a breath. Pray, think, then move with discipline. Because you don't need to explain your pain to somebody committed to causing it. You don't need to chase closure from somebody who refuses to give it. Sometimes closure is a decision you make within yourself. You say, I am done. I learned the lesson. I forgive what I can, and now I'm moving forward. That's closure. You don't need their permission to heal. You don't need their apology to grow. You don't need their approval to succeed. You don't need them to admit they were wrong before you start living right, because anger makes temporary decisions. Discipline builds permanent results. Anger says destroy it. Discipline says build something better. Anger says get even. Discipline says get better. Anger says show them. Discipline says show yourself. Show yourself that you can survive. Show yourself that you can heal. Show yourself that you can become stronger without becoming cruel. Show yourself that you can be hurt without becoming hateful. Show yourself that you can be disappointed without abandoning your purpose. That is the victory. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them underestimate you. Let them believe whatever story they want to believe. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. You don't have to defend yourself against every accusation. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is wisdom. Sometimes walking away is not defeat. Sometimes walking away is the strongest decision you can make, because you don't have time to fight every battle. You have a life to build. You have a purpose to fulfill. You have dreams that require your attention. You have responsibilities. You have people depending on you. You have a future waiting for you. And every minute you spend obsessing over somebody else's disrespect is a minute you're stealing from your own destiny. Think about that. They hurt you. And then you spend 3 days thinking about them. They disrespected you. And you lose sleep over them. They walked away. And you spend months trying to figure out why. At some point you have to say, enough. They already took enough. Take your peace back. Take your focus back. Take your energy back. Take your confidence back. Take your life back. You cannot control what people do, but you can control what you do with what they did. That's the difference between a victim of circumstances and a person who takes responsibility for their future. You may not have chosen what happened to you, but you can choose what happens next. You can choose to work. You can choose to heal. You can choose to pray. You can choose to forgive. You can choose to establish boundaries. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to become stronger. And every time you choose discipline over anger, you're training yourself. You're teaching your mind, I don't have to react. I can think, I can wait, I can breathe, I can choose. And the more you practice that, the stronger you become. Because discipline is not something you suddenly find when life gets hard. Discipline is something you build before life gets hard. You build it when you keep your word to yourself. You build it when you do the work even when you don't feel like it. You build it when you control your tongue. You build it when you walk away from unnecessary drama. You build it when you refuse to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. And then when the storm comes, you're ready. When somebody insults you, you're ready. When somebody betrays you, you're ready. When somebody tries to pull you into chaos, you're ready, not because you don't feel anything, but because you've learned that feelings are real. And still, they don't have to be in control. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can feel pain without becoming pain. You can feel disappointment without abandoning hope. You can feel hurt without losing yourself. That's emotional strength. And sometimes the greatest thing you can do after being disrespected is become so focused on your purpose that the disrespect becomes irrelevant. Let them watch you grow. Let them watch you become disciplined. Let them watch you become peaceful. Let them watch you build. But don't build for them. Build because you owe yourself a better life. Build because your future matters. Build because your purpose matters. Build because there is more inside you than the pain you're currently experiencing. You are not here to spend your life reacting to people. You are here to create, to grow, to learn, to serve, to build, to become. So the next time somebody disrespects you, pause. Don't react immediately. Don't give your emotions the steering wheel. Take a breath, pray, think. And remember who you are. Remember what you're building. Remember where you're going. Then choose discipline, choose dignity, choose peace, choose purpose. Because when your discipline becomes stronger than your anger, people can no longer control you simply by pushing your buttons. They can talk, they can judge, they can criticize, they can misunderstand. But they cannot own your peace, they cannot own your future. They cannot control your direction. And they cannot stop you from becoming the person you were meant to become. Let them have their opinion. You have work to do. You have a life to build. You have a purpose to fulfill. And you don't have time to give your future away to somebody else's disrespect. There are lessons you will never learn while everything is comfortable. There are things you will never understand while every door is open. There are strengths you will never discover while life is easy. Sometimes life has to shake you. Sometimes life has to disappoint you. Sometimes somebody has to walk away. Sometimes somebody has to disrespect you. Not because you deserved it, Not because you were worthless, not because God forgot about you, but because there are lessons you were never going to learn while everything remained comfortable. Sometimes the betrayal teaches you boundaries. Sometimes rejection teaches you independence. Sometimes loneliness teaches you how to stand on your own. Sometimes disappointment teaches you patience. And sometimes disrespect teaches you self-respect. You thought you needed that person. You thought you couldn't live without them. You thought their presence was necessary for your happiness. You thought their approval meant something about your worth. You thought losing them would destroy you. Then they walked away. And somehow, you survived, you cried, you struggled, you questioned yourself. You stayed awake at night wondering what you did wrong. You replayed conversations, you analyzed every moment, you asked yourself, why wasn't I enough? What did I do? Why did they treat me like that? Why didn't they appreciate me? And maybe you never got the answers. Maybe they never apologized. Maybe they never explained themselves. Maybe they moved on as if nothing happened, and that hurt. But you survived. You woke up the next morning. You kept breathing, you kept working, you kept praying, you kept going. One day at a time, one step at a time. And then something began to change. You started realizing that the person you thought you couldn't live without was never your source of life. You started realizing that your happiness couldn't depend on somebody else's treatment of you. You started realizing that their rejection did not define you. Their disrespect did not reduce you. Their departure did not destroy you. And one day you looked back and realized, I was afraid to lose something that God was trying to remove. Think about that. Sometimes we're begging God to restore something He is trying to release. We're asking for a door to reopen when God is trying to protect us from walking through it again. We're asking why somebody left when perhaps their departure created space for us to finally discover ourselves. Not every closed door is punishment. Some doors close because you were standing in the wrong room. Some doors close because the season is over. Some doors close because the relationship was teaching you something you couldn't learn any other way. Some doors close because staying would cost you more than leaving. And yes, it hurts. Growth often hurts. Healing can hurt, letting go can hurt. But pain doesn't always mean you're going in the wrong direction. Sometimes pain is evidence that something inside you is changing. You are learning, you are becoming, you are releasing, you are growing. Some people leave because their chapter in your life is finished. And you have to be mature enough to accept that not every chapter is supposed to become the whole book. Some people were there to teach you. Some were there to challenge you. Some were there to reveal something about yourself. And some were there to show you exactly what you should never accept again. Don't hate them. Learn from them. Don't spend years planning revenge. Build a life so peaceful that revenge becomes irrelevant. That's the difference. Revenge keeps you connected to the person who hurt you. Healing sets you free. Revenge says, I need you to suffer because you made me suffer. Healing says, I refuse to carry what you gave me. Revenge says, I need you to know what you lost. Healing says, I know what I gained by choosing myself. That's maturity. That's growth. You don't need to destroy someone who hurt you. You don't need to expose every mistake they made. You don't need to tell everybody your side of the story. Sometimes God knows the truth, and that's enough. Let God handle what you cannot control. There will be situations where you will never receive an apology. There will be people who never admit they were wrong. There will be people who tell the story differently. Let them. You don't have to chase every lie. You don't have to defend yourself against every accusation. You don't have to convince everybody that you were the one who was hurt. God saw it. God knows your heart. God knows what you endured. And your responsibility is not to control the narrative. Your responsibility is to keep your heart clean while becoming wiser. That's difficult, because when somebody hurts you, bitterness feels justified. Anger feels natural. You want them to hurt the way you hurt, but be careful. Because if you allow their behavior to change your character, they have taken something from you that they never deserved. Don't let somebody else's darkness become your personality. Don't let their disrespect turn you into a disrespectful person. Don't let their betrayal turn you into someone who cannot trust anybody. Don't let their cruelty convince you that kindness is weakness. You can become wiser without becoming colder. You can become stronger without becoming harder. You can establish boundaries without becoming bitter. You can forgive without forgetting the lesson. And you can walk away without carrying hatred in your heart. Forgive if you can, but understand this. Forgiveness does not mean giving someone unlimited access to you. You can forgive someone and still walk away. You can love someone and still establish boundaries. You can wish someone well and never speak to them again. You can release someone without reopening the door. That's not cruelty. That's wisdom. There is a difference between forgiveness and access. Forgiveness says, I refuse to carry hatred. Boundaries say, but I will not allow the same behavior to continue. Both can exist at the same time. You can have peace and distance. You can have forgiveness and boundaries. You can have love and wisdom. Don't let anyone convince you that protecting yourself means you have become a bad person. Sometimes protecting your peace is part of respecting yourself. And self-respect changes the way you move. You stop begging. You stop chasing. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. You stop accepting disrespect just because you're afraid of losing someone. You stop confusing familiarity with love. You stop calling emotional exhaustion loyalty. You stop calling constant pain commitment. You begin asking a different question, not how do I make them stay, but why am I willing to abandon myself just to keep them? That's the question that changes your life, because sometimes you aren't afraid of losing the person. You're afraid of losing the identity you created around them. You're afraid of starting over. You're afraid of being alone. You're afraid of what other people will think. But listen, being alone for a season is better than being surrounded by people who constantly make you feel alone. Peace is better than pretending. Truth is better than temporary comfort. And self-respect is better than desperate attachment. Sometimes the greatest evidence that you've healed is that you no longer need the person who hurt you to admit that they were wrong. You don't need them to say, I treated you badly. You don't need them to say, you deserved better. You don't need them to say, I regret what I did. You don't need their confession to validate your experience. You know what happened. God knows what happened. And that's enough. There is freedom in accepting that some questions may never receive answers. Some people may never understand the damage they caused. Some people may never recognize the value they lost. Some people may never apologize. But your healing cannot depend on their awareness. Your peace cannot depend on their regret. Your future cannot depend on their approval. You have to move forward. And moving forward doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means refusing to let the hurt become your home. You can remember the lesson without living in the pain. You can remember what happened without allowing it to control what happens next. You can look back and say, that broke me for a moment. But it also taught me. It taught me boundaries. It taught me patience. It taught me discernment. It taught me self-respect. And perhaps most importantly, it taught you that you can survive losing people you once believed you needed. You survived the night. You survived the rejection. You survived the betrayal. You survived the silence. You survived the loneliness. You survived the disappointment. And if you survived all of that, don't go back to the same place just because you're afraid of the unknown. Keep moving. Trust God. Let the lesson change you. Let the pain make you wiser, not bitter. Let the closed door remain closed if reopening it would only return you to the same pain. And remember, God can use what hurt you to teach you how to protect what is still inside you. You don't have to hate the person who hurt you. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to prove anything to them. You don't have to wait for them to understand. You simply have to become wiser. Become stronger. Become more disciplined. Become more peaceful. Become more grounded in your faith. And become so secure in your identity that somebody else's disrespect can no longer convince you that you are unworthy. Because sometimes the greatest blessing is not getting the person back. Sometimes the blessing is getting yourself back. Your confidence, your peace, your voice, your boundaries, your faith, your purpose, your life. And when you finally understand that, you stop asking, why did they leave me? And you start asking, who am I becoming because they did? That's where the transformation begins. That's where self-respect begins. That's where freedom begins. Listen carefully. If someone's presence constantly makes you feel small, pay attention. If you always feel like you're not enough, if you're constantly trying to earn basic kindness, if you're always afraid they're going to leave, if you have to perform just to be accepted, you need to step back. Because your worth was never supposed to depend on somebody else's mood. You should not have to wake up every morning wondering whether someone is going to treat you well today. You should not have to earn the right to be respected. You should not have to become somebody else just to keep somebody interested. Some people will only appreciate you when you're useful to them. Some will only respect you when you stop tolerating their disrespect. Some will only realize your value after they lose access to you. But don't stay just so they can eventually realize what they lost. Leave because you finally realize what you deserve. There is a powerful moment in life when you stop saying, what can I do to make them stay? And you start asking, why am I willing to abandon myself just to keep them? That's the question, because sometimes you aren't afraid of losing them. You're afraid of being alone. You're afraid of starting over. You're afraid of what tomorrow looks like without them. But understand this. Being alone is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Losing yourself is losing your peace, losing your confidence, losing your identity, losing your purpose. That's the real cost of chasing someone who constantly makes you question your worth. So choose yourself, not selfishly, not arrogantly, but intentionally. Choose yourself because you finally understand that your life is too valuable to spend begging someone to recognize your value. Protect your mind, protect your time, protect your energy, protect your purpose, protect the person you are becoming. You don't have to prove your value to somebody committed to overlooking it. Let them misunderstand you. Let them walk away. Let them underestimate you. You don't need to chase. You need to grow. Keep growing. Keep learning. Keep praying. Keep becoming. And trust that the people who are meant to walk beside you will not require you to destroy yourself just to earn their respect. The right people won't make you constantly question whether you're enough. They will not demand that you sacrifice your dignity for their attention. They will not make you beg for basic kindness. And if someone does, step back, take your power back, take your peace back, take your life back. Because you were not created to spend your life convincing somebody else that you are worthy. You were created to live like you already know you are. There comes a moment when you have to stop looking backward, not because it didn't hurt. It did not because you didn't care. You did, not because losing them was easy. It wasn't. But because your future deserves more attention than your past. You cannot build a powerful life while constantly checking who disrespected you. You cannot reach your purpose while carrying every insult with you. You cannot become everything you're capable of becoming if you're spending your energy trying to prove somebody wrong. At some point, you have to stop explaining and start building. Let them think whatever they want. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them underestimate you. Your results will speak. Your character will speak. Your discipline will speak. Your peace will speak. You don't need to announce your growth. You need to live it. Get up every morning and work. Work when nobody applauds. Work when nobody believes in you. Work when you're tired. Work when you're disappointed. Work when you're misunderstood. Work when you're hurting, because your purpose does not disappear just because somebody hurt your feelings. Your future does not stop because somebody rejected you. And your destiny does not depend on somebody else's approval. When life knocks you down, don't ask, why me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's teaching you boundaries. Maybe it's teaching you discipline. Maybe it's teaching you that you can survive without people you once thought you needed. Whatever the lesson is, learn it because you're not finished, not even close. The disrespect did not destroy you. The rejection did not define you. The betrayal did not end you. The lonely season did not bury you. You're still here, still breathing, still fighting, still believing, still moving. And that means there is still work to do. So don't beg for respect. Become so secure in who you are that disrespect no longer determines how you see yourself. Stand firm. Keep your faith. Keep your discipline. Keep your heart strong. Don't become bitter because someone treated you badly. Don't become cruel because someone was cruel to you. Don't lose your character trying to prove that somebody else was wrong. Let God handle what you cannot control. Your responsibility is to keep becoming better. And when somebody chooses not to respect you, don't destroy yourself trying to change their mind. Cannot force someone to see your worth. You can only decide what you will accept. So take your dignity, take your peace, take your lessons, take your faith, take your strength, and keep walking. You don't need to run. You don't need to chase. You don't need to look back every 5 minutes. Keep walking. Keep building. Keep growing. Keep praying. Because your future is waiting for you. And your future has no room for you to keep begging people from your past to recognize your worth. Walk away with your dignity. Keep your head high. Keep your heart strong. And keep building the life they never thought you could build.